And we will begin our September 15th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting at 9 o'clock. And as we call this meeting into order, I'm going to ask that we take a moment of silence on behalf of our community, our state, and our nation. As we sit at this moment, the President is meeting with the United Arab Emirates and entering into a peace deal for the Middle East, which is on its own a momentous occasion. But as you know, the West Coast is on fire. And Washington, Oregon, and California have all suffered, as well as our own local communities. And on top of that, we continue to see a barrage of insults and injuries to our police officers. So please join me before we begin this meeting in a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Our famous Dan from IT is going to lead us today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we have been doing since the COVID outbreak, we have been receiving an update from our COVID team prior to public comment, and that way those that have questions on the COVID hopefully will be answered before the comment. So please, oh there you are, Marcy. Please join us in welcoming Marcy. Thank you.
Good morning, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board, Supervisors.
Marcy Jo Cutzel, Public Health Branch Director. My sidekick Dan's going to help me today because I want to give you some visuals. I'll bring up, first we'll bring up the county website with the dashboard. So when you go to trinitycounty.org, as Dan just did, and then you click on the Trinity County coronavirus information, it'll take you to, before we move on, Dan, I want to just illustrate something on the left-hand side. You'll notice there's a frequently asked questions tab. That's the tab that you can submit questions to the webmaster, and then those questions will be answered. As you can see on the dashboard, we have, thank you, Dan. We have 15 confirmed cases. We have 14 recovered cases and 1 active case at this time. We have 8 active quarantines, 1 active isolation at this time. We have a total negative test of 2,130. We're waiting results on 3. Can you scroll down just a little bit, Dan? Thank you. Total tested 2,148. The reason for the low number of awaiting results, I think in part is due to our Verily sites had to cancel last week due to the air quality. I'll keep you posted this week on what that looks like. There's a threshold that they are of air quality that they're utilizing. Can we go, Dan, to the covid.ca.gov? and click on the county map. So when you go to this website, if you click on county map, this takes you to the blueprint for the economy. Scroll down to the map. There you go. If you hover your cursor over Trinity County, it should, I guess it's not for some reason.
I'm not getting the normal hover behavior.
Okay, all right.
Marcy, would you please explain to the people on Zoom what that would normally do at that moment?
Oh, yes, thank you. That's a great idea. So if you go back to that, Dan, if you hover over that map, it will show you what our case rate is and what our positivity rate is. Those are the two metrics they use for tier opening and tier progression and movement forward and backward. The other metric that hasn't been landed on with CDPH yet is the equity metric. That's going to be a factor in tier openings. And essentially what it means for Trinity County is that we've been fighting very hard. We don't have a really diverse ethnicity that creates equity. We have significant poverty in our county that creates an equity issue. And so we've been advocating, those of us with high poverty rates and low ethnicity rates have been advocating for that equity measure to be utilized in a way that helps us ensure those living in poverty have access to services either directly or indirectly related to COVID. That includes testing. We have put those things in our grant. As you can see, Dan's toggled over that now. If you toggle over our county or any county, it'll show you what that preceding week data is, and they look at each week. So this data was collected from the 31st, for the week ending 8/29. They post this data and they change it every Tuesday. So Monday night is when they calculate the data. Tuesday is when they post the data in the county metrics. There's some nuances to this that are a little complicated. However, going to the website here will give you a really good idea of what we're looking at as far as businesses opening. If you go up down to the search box, so we can search, we can put Trinity County in, and if you just put Trinity County and no specified business, it brings all of them up. So if you click, so you can go down, you can look at all the sectors that are open or not, and what the modifications are. You can search by specific sectors in that other box at the top, the other search engine box. So if you want to look for a specific business, you would enter it in that, or activity. Can we now go to the CDPH website, Dan? I'm happy to answer any questions if there's any before, if you want to interrupt me, or if you want to wait to the end. So this is the CDPH website. If you click on Learn More, right there, Thank you, Dan. Scroll down. Okay, so here's where you can find all the guidance documents, all the related information for the California Department of Public Health. Certainly we also look at CDC recommendations, and that's in part what CDPH is basing their policies on and their guidance. However, recently we've seen Governor Newsom diverge from that in a bit because of the politicizing of the CDC. I have no opinion about that. I simply follow the science and what it tells us. So if you look at the state, could you click on the order of the state public health officer, Dan?
This one?
Yeah. Thank you. This is the state health officer order that supersedes the order from July. This is the order that accompanies the blueprint. It is a health officer order, therefore it must be followed. And once again, we want to reiterate that our funding is contingent on our ability to show that we are complying as a county. We have monthly report outs on the information regarding how well we're doing. So I wanted to share this with you as well as the public. And that's really all I have for you this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Groves?
Marcy, I'm a little confused on how you said they updated on Monday, yet that's over 2 weeks old, the one that's showing.
Right.
do they do it every 2 weeks and they just haven't updated it?
No, there's a 7-day lag. So that's the nuances that are a little complicated. It's a 7-day average with a 7-day lag. And I am not, it's complicated for me and it's complicated for a lot of us, but essentially it's a 3-week period to determine whether or not you have to stay in the tier for 3 weeks. The reason for that is they're looking at week increments, but because there's a 7-day average and a 7-day lag, that's why it puts it in why it looks like it's in arrears like that. I can certainly, and I'm probably not going to be able to articulate that in a way that's absolutely understood because it's still really complicated, but what I can do is send you that information, right? There's still discussion going on with CDPH, even as we speak with the blueprint being up with regard to clarifying for particularly small counties how those things impact us. I'm happy to provide you more detailed information. I'm not sure if that helps you understand.
I'm just trying to get just like a rough number, so by next Monday, should we be up to September 7th or?
So the data that they posted on the 7th is for the time period ending on the 29th of August. Because if I understand, that's essentially a 7-day lag and looking at the 7-day average. So there's always going to be.
Well, right now they're 2 weeks behind on this information. It said it was August 31st and it's September 15th, so we're.
But the data that they posted, oh, I see what you're saying, because yeah, I'm still in September 7th. Let me, because initially, because of the way they started it, it's a little different in this first 3-week period. So I know that I'm not answering your question sufficiently. What I will do is I'll send you information when I get it and try to articulate that a little better.
All right, thank you, Marcy.
Supervisor Morris? Hi, Marcy. I don't know if this is a question for you or Liz, but with the ongoing forest fires and this horrific smoke, I noticed that we don't have air cooling centers open. Is that due to COVID? And is there mitigation we can do to accommodate clean air shelters with COVID as an overlay?
Yeah, sure, thank you. What I can tell you is that we do have HEPA filters available to place throughout the county right now. We're using those in county businesses and other entities. We have not convened a discussion with OES. The health department hasn't. I can certainly let Liz answer that. We have the HEPA filters. With our COVID response, our goal in public health is to ensure those HEPA filters are placed and that there are clean air centers that are compliant with COVID. The other thing I can tell you is when the coronavirus first started, we purchased 4 units that are pop-up units that have 4 slots in them where 4 beds could be placed. That was in anticipation of the need for surge and quarantining people with coronavirus so that it wouldn't impact our hospital system. We are integrating that into our COVID response in that we can utilize those for sheltering, cohorting people if we needed to, if they were evacuated from fire. And also we are purchasing we purchased heating units for those and light units for those because it was in the colder months. Now we're going back and we're purchasing cooling units for those. So those units could be utilized if they needed to for cooling stations. They could only cohort about 4, well, if they were sleeping, there would be 4 persons, but it could probably be more than that if they're just sitting in the cooling office.
Yeah, I was just going back to when we had a couple throughout the county, like the Golden Age Center open for clean air. We've obviously a lot of seniors in our county that could benefit, so, or people in general, but we do have a lot of seniors, so thank you.
Supervisor Finley?
No.
Supervisor Brown?
No, thank you.
So, thank you, Marcy. I don't know who this question is, but on a follow-up, in the regulations regarding gathering and also at the same time providing a place for safety, I believe actually Supervisor Groves brought this up at the end of the meeting a couple weeks ago. Is there discussion, how do we have centers for clean air and people available to, are allowed to gather with the COVID? I mean, which one supersedes? I mean, we have, this air quality is really bad, and we do have a huge demographic that is seniors. So the question, and I don't know if there's an answer today, is can we get those clean air centers up and running and not be in violation of the COVID gathering?
So the COVID guidance, and Dan, would you mind pulling up the CDPH website again? I just want to really quickly, the COVID guide, the gathering guidance, one of the caveats is that no more than 3 households. So yes, COVID does put a layer on how we do clean air centers. We would have to approach this the way we would approach sheltering, looking at innovative alternatives to people just being collected into a space from different households, multitudes of people, into a clean air center. So we'd have to strategically look at that very much the way we're looking at sheltering. Okay. So Dan, if you go to the gathering guidance, click more on the, please, thank you. And scroll down. If you go to guidance documents, thank you. Gatherings, right? 912, one at the very top, the link at the very top there, Dan. Thank you. This is the updated gathering guidance that's been posted.
So bottom line, that usurps authority and is a priority over clean air centers and multiple people coming. I mean, you're saying that we would have to follow this guidance over having a clean air center having more than 3 households.
So what I can tell you, Chairwoman, is that we're looking at harm reduction, quite frankly. And so if the threat of life because of the smoke is more significant than the risk of getting COVID, we're going to make sure that people's lives are protected from the fire and the smoke, while at the same time doing our best to mitigate any spread. So when I'm asked what supersedes, it's like any multi-casualty incident or any emergency that you have to respond to where there's multiple people and multiple policies that may intersect. And so we would have to look at all those things under a specific scenario.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to, if I may, could I go back to Supervisor Groves' question?
Yes, please.
And I'll be sending this out to you so that you have it. So one of the things I wanted to share with you is the way they describe how they're calculating the case rate and the test positivity rate. Let's just go with the test positivity rate for that 7 days. It's calculated as the total number of positive tests for COVID-19 over a 7-day period based on specimen collection date, divided by the total number of tests conducted. It excludes the tests for persons out of state or with unknown county of residence. Excludes tests for persons incarcerated at a state federal prison. This number is then multiplied by 100 to get a percentage. Due to reporting delay, which may be different between positive and negative tests, there is a 7-day lag. Example, for cumulative data received on 8/22, reported test positivity date is 8/15 and is calculated based on tests with specimen collection dates from 8/9/20 to 8/15/20. And I'm happy to send this. This is a really nice table that describes that to you.
Or so send it to the full board,
Yes.
and perhaps it can go on the backup as well. Thank you.
Okay, will I send that to you?
Actually, Emma, or well, in today's case,
Clerk of the
Susie.
board.
Okay, okay, got it. Thank you.
And that way it'll get put in the minutes as part of the history of this presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. And I apologize, this is kind of complex stuff that's happening fairly quickly, and I'm trying to get up to speed so I can give you a really good report out.
Well, you've all come a long way, I mean, with the presentation and the dashboards and everything. I mean, it's really only been 6 months, so you've had to jump through hoops that continuously move, so appreciate it. The whole team, thank you. Liz, are you going to speak? Ms. Hamilton, I'm sorry.
No, and I'm still waiting to hear from Ed, so we can trail.
Okay, my understanding, he's on a phone call this morning, and we're going to let him jump in when he's available. So, does that conclude this morning's presentation then at this time? So for those watching on Zoom, our Officer of Emergency Service, the Director, is on a call this morning that will most likely be reported out during the reports from department heads. So moving on, we will move into the public comment. This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be concluded on matters not listed on this agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on subsequent board agendas. Do we know if we have anyone in the lobby or outside waiting?
Nobody out there.
Thank you. And do we have anybody on Zoom or on the telephone lines that would like to participate in public comment? And I will look to Susie Hawkins. Okay, so if you wish to speak, could you please, we have someone Ms. Hunter, do you see someone?
Somebody popped up in your chat.
They're not chatting.
They don't know how to raise their hand.
We will check the chat, but my understanding, if you just unmute yourself and state your name, or if there's a way you can raise your hand, that would be the more appropriate. We don't usually go by the chats, but we will, again, amend our...
Do you remember what hand raise was?
There is no normal, so I can't say normal. For those that are just listening in, we are still trying to see if there's someone waiting in Zoom. Okay, it appears that there is no one. Ms. Hunter?
Hello, my name is Jan Rice, and is now the time to speak? Apologies.
This is public comment. You have 3 minutes, Ms. Rice.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name is Jen Rice. I'm from Humboldt Area Foundation, and I've communicated with some of you by email and just wanted to say hello and that we're here to support your work balancing and taking care of the community in multiple disasters. And we've raised a COVID response fund. We're in the process of establishing a general disaster response fund in addition that can be available for support during fires and evacuations. If you're experiencing as a community, challenges getting funding where you need it and funding partners when you need them for critical issues, I just want to say hello, we're here. Key folks, I think, in that room have my contact information, and I just want to say we're here to support you and be a partner and get better connected during challenging times. So thank you for everything you're all doing to take care of the community, and it's good to virtually meet you.
Thank you, Ms. Rice. Thank you very much. I saw some movement in the room, and so I just want to double check. This is time for public comment. Public comment.
No thanks.
No public comment? Good morning. Kim Hunter, Building and Planning Director. I'm pleased, take the mask off. Please introduce Margie DeRose. She's our new senior planner in the Cannabis Division. She started yesterday. We're very, very excited to have her on board. She has a diverse background and experience. I think it's very unique. We're very pleased to be able to have someone come on board with that experience. And I will hand it over to Margie to let her explain a little bit about her background. And thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to come work for Trinity County. My background is diverse, as Kim mentioned. I started my career as a geotechnical consultant working on large land development projects. Went to graduate school and then worked for the Forest Service for about a decade. I served as a geologist overseeing mining projects in a NEPA planner role, as a deputy district ranger, acting district ranger, and then I left the federal government a couple of years ago and opened a cannabis dispensary in Mono County, and started from scratch with that, and it's a successful operation at the eastern entrance to Yosemite National Park. I also do consulting in that area, Mono County, for other types of cannabis businesses. So I have a lot of background in regulatory compliance as well as industry knowledge from my experience working in the cannabis industry. So I'm excited to join the team and have the opportunity to move the program into success.
Thank you. Great. Welcome. To see if there's anybody else on Zoom waiting to speak. Pardon? Okay, so we're going to close the public comment at this time and bring it back to the board. And we will receive item 1.2 for those that are following their agenda online. Receive an update on the wildfires currently burning in King County, but we have moved this. It's on your agenda for now.
Actually, Ed is ready now.
Ed is ready? Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Ed. Perfect timing. Welcome, Ed.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Liz Hamilton, Director of Health and Human Services and Office of Emergency Services. I wanted to just give an update on sheltering prior to passing to Ed. And so for the public and for the board to understand, sheltering is a dynamic situation in a COVID environment, and we are closely partnered with American Red Cross to keep everyone safe and healthy while sheltered. So how that looks right now across the state and in our county as well. The county, when we hear word from the Sheriff's Department about evacuations, we will set up a temporary evacuation point where residents will be directed to go. And they will either meet Red Cross staff or county staff through social services at a temporary evacuation point, a TEP, and receive information for what's next. Whether they'll receive registration information. Of course, we want all residents to register, and so that we can keep open lines of communication with them once they disperse from that point. So right now, for example, American Red Cross has a temporary evacuation point for Trinity County residents in Ferndale. When they reach that point, they will be given vouchers for a hotel and instructions on food and everything else that will be important for that time, incident debriefings. And so we'll continue on in that fashion. Should we not have hotel arrangements made and we are looking at congregate sheltering, those will be done safely with less occupancy than traditional, and we'll work and navigate that as we get to that point. So that's just a high-level overview on how sheltering is working right now. Everyone is doing the best we can with the resources that we have, as you started off today's board meeting acknowledging the overwhelming response of our state. And so with that, I will turn it over to Ed and hear a full report from him.
Do you have a question?
Are vouchers available again, or do you know? Out of Humboldt.
That I do not know,
Okay.
and perhaps Ed can answer that.
Okay, so
yeah.
instead of making that statement, let's make sure that they're available.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
And there's a follow-up by Supervisor Morris.
Just a clarification between Supervisor Finley's question and your earlier statement. Did I hear, or there's work going on to move our residents to our local hotels with vouchers, or is that just not up for discussion yet?
I'm not sure what the most recent discussion as of this morning is on that topic, Supervisor Morris.
Okay.
And if Ed can add to that, he surely will.
Okay.
He's coming right from a meeting on the phone.
Correct.
So,
Supervisor
Supervisor
Groves,
Groves, I'm sorry.
So my question is, when we were in far southern Trinity, I understand why they went to Ferndale, but now that we've evacuated the Pines, I understand, and why are we not setting up anything in Hayford for evacuation center?
So my understanding, Supervisor Groves, and thank you for that question, is sheltering, we coordinate with American Red Cross, and it's evaluating where their resources are. And we have worked and we have been communicating with them, I know even last night, on how we can pull staff from Red Cross into the Hayfork area for that reason. And so we are working on that. The Hayfork Fairgrounds is an approved location by American Red Cross, and we would like to access that. It's just a matter of their staff being able to get there and county staff supporting that effort.
Thank you.
And again, Mr. Finley?
Just to point out, there are no resources. So that's what they're working on. And Keith, if you look at it, it's almost as easy for Post Mountain to head toward the coast than it is to set up everything in Hayfork until Hayfork becomes in jeopardy. So there are no resources. This is the best they're doing.
Thank you.
We'll turn it over to Mr. Presley now, if he's available. Welcome, Ed. Ed, we're not hearing you, so if you're on the line, could you check your mute button? Dr. Coons, would you mind texting him? Okay, perfect, thank you.
I'm not seeing him on here unless he's on just the call number.
Yes.
He's on, he could be on the telephone, one of those numbers. He's gonna call back.
For those waiting, we're just having a minor technical challenge. Please bear with us. Thank you.
is Ed Presley. Is it okay for me to continue?
Yes, please, we were waiting for you, sir. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Sorry about that. I had to disconnect and recall. So, good morning, everyone. Madam Chairman of the Board, this is Ed Presley. I'm the Emergency Operations Manager for Trinity County with an update on what's going on from an OES point of view. Let's first look at the red Salmon Fire because I think that one will be a little bit easier. It has been calming down and we were able to reduce the evacuation order to an evacuation warning to allow some people back in. We're obviously still watching it though because until the fire is out, it's still a threat and we need to keep it on our radar for sure. A point to note, even though the threat to Danny has diminished, the fire is still heading southward. It's over in Humboldt County, but it's still heading southward. So we're definitely still watching this thing until it's out, like I said. We know how unpredictable winds can be, and we need to remain vigilant if we live in a downriver area for updated information. Okay, so now switching gears to the August Complex North Zone. This one is a different animal. We saw this fire move across the southern portion of the county from east to west, which is a little bit different than usual. They usually travel to the east, but it was pushed by that wind event we had last week. It moved through Three Forks and over to Kenton Pond, Xenia, Henshaw Valley, endangering those communities before we could get a good line on it. The north side had some energy as well and pushed up toward Bruce, prompting their evacuation orders as well as the other one. Then we had a couple days of thick smoke down there, which slowed the progress of the fire and allowed the Forest Service and CAL FIRE crews, which are working in tandem, they're working together down there, to get some equipment in place and really put the slowdown and the containment line built around the Kenton Palm area, up towards the Luth area, and kind of pushed it to the middle area. And we're talking South Fork Ridge specifically. So then the emphasis shifted, and the center part of the fire, which had established a good hold, unfortunately, even though they could keep it out of Ruth for the most part, it went up the western side of South Fork Ridge and moved up the ridge toward Ruth Lake, basically going around Ruth to the east. So we extended the evacuation order northward from Ruth up to Journey Bend on the east side of Ruth Lake. Then yesterday, the fire got going again due to the wind and began moving north and spotting up in the direction of Forest Glen and Highway 36. Basically, it had went over South Fork Ridge and just started moving on a course due north. And this prompted the evacuation of Forest Glen. The crews were hoping to keep it south of 36, so that's the big push right now. Crews are establishing a line to hold at Rattlesnake Ridge and are moving more resources into the area today. So be advised if anyone is traveling through that area on 36. The smoke or cloud cover actually helps to slow the fire. Even though it produces an unhealthy air quality for us trying to breathe, we need to understand that as the smoke or clouds cover that fire, it creates a shading effect and it actually slows the fire's progression. So today we're going to have about a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind pushing to the north again, but temperatures will start falling around Thursday and a marine layer will be moving in to help with humidity recovery. So that will work in our favor too. But like I said, those resources they're trying to get established, they're in the lines they're trying to get put in to specifically keep this fire south of 36. The chances of rain later in the week, Thursday, Friday, we thought they were going to be a little bit better, but it seems like they're getting lower, and all we may get is just some clouds. We may get like a light wetting rain, just very light, but nothing significant in that area. But I'll tell you, listening to the brief at 9 o'clock, the crews are wanting to go on the offensive in this. They're wanting to take a more aggressive posture, so that's very encouraging from our point of view. Hopefully they can get a line on it and get it stopped. I do want to switch gears here and talk a little bit about evacuations. I know Liz kind of touched on this, and I think it's very important for everyone to understand just what goes through our minds as we're trying to work evacuations in the county. This whole situation was brand new to us as far as evacuations go. Red Cross does not want to establish congregate shelters like they have in the past, just because of COVID. And this is a serious thing. We don't want to have it spreading to our children, to our anyone that's going to evacuate and go to a shelter, we don't want the liability of them going there and getting sick with COVID, or even taking it back to their communities and spreading it because someone in the shelter was asymptomatic. So the Red Cross wants to set up the temporary evacuation points, and what they do is they conduct COVID screening at that point, and they want to assess and determine needs of the evacuees at that point. Then once that is decided, folks will either go to the hotel, as Liz said, or if they choose, they can camp, stay in RVs because these are social distancing measures, or just travel to another location if they want to just continue traveling. The reason why it was done in this way this time was because Red Cross was stretched so thin. In Humboldt County, they had evacuees from Del Norte, Siskiyou County, Trinity County, and Mendocino County at the same time. At one point, they said, we don't know if we have any hotel rooms in the whole county to continue supporting people if evacuees make it that far. So we were very pleased that they were able to help us. Okay, so now the emphasis has shifted more to Trinity, and so we will be establishing, and this is if the fire continues the way it's going right now, we are going to be establishing a temporary evacuation point in Hayfork for Red Cross to set up, and they are set up. They're ready to go. All we got to do is give them a call to come to Hayfork and help out our people, because our biggest concern with if this fire pushes north and cuts off 36, it would be very difficult, because we don't know how fast it's going to move. It would be very difficult to tell Forest Glen to go east if this fire is coming straight up in between Forest Glen and Trinity Pines Post Mountain area. So that's why we wanted to continue with Forest Glen to go westward, and then to the east, if we have Trinity Pines to deal with evacuating that area, we wanted them to just be able to go straight north if they wanted, and then we have a temporary evacuation point there. I mean, basically, we got to look at this the way it is. The bottom third of our county is either under evacuation orders or warnings. And as you know, we rely on the Red Cross to help with the sheltering of the evacuees, and it's not just the sheltering, it's bringing in the Salvation Army so that they're fed as well. Now, I've talked to the Mendocino and Humboldt OES from this. This wasn't just a decision made in a bubble. I did talk to neighboring counties, and Humboldt just made the most sense because 36 was just a straight way out, and then from the people down in Ketton, they could pop over to Olive Point. So at the Ferndale Fairgrounds, they have the Red Cross staff, they have nurses positioned to conduct the screening, they have the food supply set up for evacuees to choose remaining vehicles, the spots for the camping, RVs, the hotels identified for people going to non-congregate sheltering. It just makes sense. But like I said, our advanced planning team saw the need for the potential, just in case 36 was cut off, that we would have to take the brunt up to Hayfork and take care of our people that way. Now, our public health branch, they've been working really hard trying to keep everything going here for months from a public health perspective. And so I want to give a shout out to those guys for sure, because they're an integral part in this whole process. They've been helping on the COVID issue to safely reopen the county while performing contact tracing and coordinating testing sites. But since we have had to evacuate Forest Glen and ask those residents to head west to Ferndale Fairgrounds to get out of the fire, or to get out of the way of it potentially, they all were shifting over to Red Cross. But as we look at Hayfork, we may need more support from public health. I'm hoping Red Cross can just bring everything and just set up as a group, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. That's really the end of that report. I wanted to give like a little follow-up here at the bottom with just some information. We have Disaster 211 up and running now. Residents are encouraged to go to 211trinitycounty.org for more information. It's up-to-date services and information that's going on around the county. But just understand the website isn't perfect yet, but they're working on it. The Disaster 211 Spotlight is a very good place to start at the homepage. Another thing that we brought recently, speaking of the OES, is the Social Bridging Project. So this is from California for All, the LISTOS campaign. And so we've been going on about 2 weeks now, and they've been making phone calls to the elderly and vulnerable populations of the county. They've reached out to 122 separate people in the county so far, so hopefully that continues as well. As always, anybody can go to the OES webpage at trinitycounty.org or the HHS Facebook page to get updates. Rick still puts out tweets if folks follow the tweets. Okay, I almost forgot here. OES actually got the go-ahead this morning to set up a Facebook page. So we're going to have an OES Facebook page for the county, and that'll be another way that we can reach out to the people to residents. So in closing, I would like to say I've spent a lot of time in dangerous places around the world, and I have been constantly impressed by the brave men and women who are out there to risk their own personal safety to help people and keep them safe. This county and the surrounding counties have a lot of people doing that right now. They often go unnoticed until they're needed, and when they're needed, well, they can make all the difference in the world. I know we get it in Trinity County, but I just wanted to take a second to remind folks, if you see a firefighter, he may be on a rare day off. The CAL FIRE crew we talked to over the weekend, he's been working 28 days straight. And this is a fire that's moving, so these guys aren't sitting around. They're actually working 28 days straight. That was just one example. If you see a deputy out there, a sheriff's deputy, he may have just got back from evacuating folks running a 14-hour shift. It's okay to say thank you. We're in this fight together, so let's stay close and keep supporting one another. I do want to touch on the code red, just actually as part of the closing here. Please sign up. If you call me at 530-623-1116, leave your name, number, I'll call you back. We'll get you loaded up into the system. Just please sign up. I did hear some people talking about clean air centers as well. That's definitely something that we can look at getting set up. Again, we're public employees, so we want to help the public here. It just needs to be aligned with the COVID protocols. You know, it's a fluid situation, so we just got to remain flexible. So I appreciate everybody's time this morning. If you have any questions, maybe I can answer them now. If not, I'll get back with an answer.
Supervisor Finley.
Yeah, Ed, regarding code red, if you can touch base with sheriff or dispatch, the alert went out last night for Forest Glen as an evacuation, but it's not sticking. I didn't see it this morning, and I don't see it still on the website. It left last night, so as far as people are concerned, when they look at it, there's probably no evacuation order. Sheriff would be handling it out of dispatch, but if you can touch base with them, since you mentioned code red, and make sure that these evacuation orders come up on code red and stick there, I'd appreciate it. And that's just for the public to know that they might not be sticking, but there's still an evacuation order of some type. Also, I really want to thank you for reaching out on Sunday with Ket and Palm and the whole situation there. You did an excellent job. Thank you.
Supervisor Brooks.
Thank you, sir.
Ed, this is Keith. You didn't mention any of the, what the plan is on the south end of the fire. Basically, there's a lot of Trinity County ground in the North Fork of the Eel area. Do they have resources in there, or are they just going to let those fires merge together, the south and the north complex, or do you know?
So from what I can tell from the briefings that I've attended, they weren't really concerned about the southern portion of that. They think that the wind, because it's a wind that's pushing north, they think that it's basically going to stop itself. Now, over on the southeastern portion of the fire, they absolutely believe there's nothing they can do to stop it because they can't get any air attack in there to get, any retardant or any helicopters or anything because it's so smoky down there. As the wind is pushing it all north, there's still fire, active fire to the south of that area, so they can't even get crews into that eastern portion of the county down there. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
Ed, this is Finley. If you could check with CAL FIRE, because they were moving equipment back into that side of the fire and exchanging equipment out and positions with USFS. on Sunday. That's part of the thing they were talking about. You might have missed it because you got there a couple minutes late with Sheriff.
Supervisor Morris?
Supervisor Fiddler?
And this is Supervisor Morris. It might be too early, but do we have an idea of property loss, especially in the Three Forks and Canton Palm area, or is it too early to know?
So what they're reporting right now is there's 35 known structures that are on the ground, but they're not delineating to different specific areas. Christy Anderson, our environmental health director, she is slated to go out. They keep pushing it back because of the wind and the fire, but they definitely want to get in there to check everything out. But the final number that I have are right now, not final, the number I have right now is 35 structures known that have burned.
All right, thank you.
And that's the number we passed to Sacramento on Sunday for the night as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed Presley. I appreciate it. The board appreciates all your hard work, and we are concluded with our questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So before moving on to consent calendar, I'll report out on closed session on September 1st on items number 5.1. The board was updated and it will be continued. Item 5.2, the board was updated and continued, no reportable action. So moving into consent calendar. These items include routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon the board by one roll call motion. A member of the board, staff, or public may request an item be pulled and considered separately. Is anyone on the board wish to pull anything out of order? Consent. Okay, not seeing anybody saying anything, so moving on to staff. Is there anybody in staff that wants to pull anything? And the public. Is there anyone on the line, on Zoom, in the lobby? Not seeing any. I will bring it back to the board and entertain a motion. So moved.
Second.
Consent calendar motion by Supervisor Moore, seconded by Supervisor Fenley. Supervisor Fenley?
Yes.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Yes.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to reports and announcements. Item 3.1, reports from department heads. Is there any department head present that would like to step up to the podium? Not seeing any. Is there any department heads on the phone or Zoom that wishes to report out?
Shelley Nelson, HR Director.
Welcome, Shelley.
I just wanted to remind everybody, we have open enrollment that's going to be starting September 21st. It'll run for about a month through October 16th. We sent out an all-user first of the week that's providing all the information and contact information to our providers and the products that the employees can take time to review and contact for questions. So yeah, just wanted to re-emphasize that to everybody and contact us if you have any questions.
Shelley, just, excuse me, Ms. Naslin, for the record, could you let the public know what open enrollment is, if you could do that real quick?
One time a year, we are allowed as employees to make changes to our current healthcare, medical insurances. So whether it's for healthcare, dental, vision, and some extra insurances that are available through some of our different providers. And during the rest of the year, you're not able to make changes unless you have a life-qualifying event.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Are there any questions from the audience?
Just a reminder, this is for county employees, and thank you for letting the public know what open enrollment was for county employees.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Not seeing any. I do see, thank you, Ms. Nelson. not to put you on the spot, Ms. Ryder, but I saw the flyer for the free mattress day. Did you want to speak to that, or? Okay, well, so who else is up there? Mr. Tippett?
I'm here if you wanted to ask me about it.
I just thought if you would like to take a moment and encourage people just to let the public know.
Since we don't have a permanent mattress collection recycling place, when people buy new mattresses, they pay a fee for the mattress manufacturers to provide recycling. And this is our annual event that covers the requirement for them to provide us with recycling in this county for right now. And there's flyers out, the webpage is updated, and the events are scheduled for October 9th and 10th. 9th is at Hayfork Transfer Site, and the 10th is at Weaverville Transfer Site, and that's from 9 to 2. And you can bring 4 mattresses in, or mattress units per vehicle.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So Mr. Tippett, I see you're on the line and you're unmuted. Would you like to report out?
Sorry, yes, I would. The damage on the forest fires has been about $300,000. I actually have a picture here to show you, but master this a little better. We've had a lot of damage to guardrails at all the bridge approaches, and we did have one column of one of the bridges down south that had a lot of fire around the base of it, and some of the material, the rocks that were in there had actually fallen out, so there'll have to be some repair to the bridge. But overall, we're looking at the damage probably under $500,000 at this time. So it's not terribly significant, but it is just once again more busy work placed upon us because of these fires that were happening here. Moving on to other things to report, I am working with the Forest Service. We've been talking about doing a flat project for the Canyon Creek road. What we're going to be asking for is projects that were identified in the Trinity access study, and it's about $20 million worth of work that is needed on Canyon Creek Road. We're going to ask for probably a little north of $10 million worth of improvements. So, and that's to start making improvements up to the trailhead, and we'll be doing that in conjunction with the Forest Service so that our application is more appealing. Right now, I've asked the engineer that's working on the sewer and water line project over in the Lewiston subdivision to give me an outline of what drainage systems need to be repaired, particularly subsurface drainage systems. And we're going to take that information and try to pursue a USDA grant later on this year to see if we can get the drainage improved there. We're fixing the water and the sewer. It'd be really nice to get in there and fix the drainage so that we don't have to go back and repair pavement issues over time. We have pretty much at this point completed our pavement program for MRA. We paved or chip seal about 12 miles of road, put down over 2,000 tons of asphalt and patching. We were going to get in and fix some culverts on Xenia Lake Mountain, but as you know, we've had a lot of trouble getting access around this time. Then finally, happy to report out that the roof is complete, the fireproofing is on at the jail. That really represented the second milestone, about 2/3 of the project. Moving on from this point, we are doing essentially better words, the guts, the jail, and putting everything together. We finished up laying out dispatch, so I'm quite excited that we're going to have that all set up, and everything else on the jail is moving forward. For some of the projects I've had, this is one of the more easier, better run projects so far, knock on wood. And we're still looking at opening or turning it over to the sheriff sometime towards the end of February, beginning of March. So that's all I have to report.
Are there any questions for Mr. Tippett? No? Yes, Supervisor Groves has a question for you, Rick.
Rick, did you get my text yesterday to a couple of questions for you?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
I wasn't sure. If I was actually answering one of the questions about the dirt piping at Lewiston. But the loggers on county roads is a tough issue because it's hard to identify who's doing that particular activity at the time, but we are going to send someone out there and remind them that it really is a dust mitigation requirement for what they're doing out there. Essentially, when they go to have a site, they're responsible for controlling the dust, both on the site and in the areas that you're using to transport the logs. So our first hit on that is usually to go by and ask them to increase their dust mitigation. If they don't do that, then we talk to the airport about having them review the site and see if we can get improvements too. So we are going to start actively working on that.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Tippett. That concludes any questions from the board for you. Is there any other department heads that wanted to speak?
Good morning, Tim Saxon, Sheriff.
Oh, welcome, Sheriff. Thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to talk just briefly about a couple of things. Number one, really excited. Recall a few months ago, we approached the board about applying for a grant through the SCC with regard to Proposition 64 funding. We were notified on Friday that we were funded for the grant. So it's very exciting. The amount that we requested was $1 million over 3 years. And what was really exciting about this is we competed against some really heavy hitters out there. For example, Alameda County, Contra Costa County, El Dorado, Sonoma, Santa Cruz. I mean, we went up against some big hitters out there that normally get all these big dollar fundings, and we were selected. And our project, we named it Trinity Cares, and it's a coordinated active response to ensure student safety. And we've been working with the Trinity County Office of Education for a while with the Trinity Safe Schools Coalition, and that's a partnership between probation, sheriff's office, behavioral health, the hospital, and a couple other partners to address school safety and the health of the students, behavioral health-wise. And when this grant opportunity came up, we said this is a great chance to try and put something that we've been missing over the years, and that is a deputy sheriff embedded back in the schools again. And through the probation department, we have Carolyn Atterbury in there who's doing a wonderful job, but we also felt the need to have, from the enforcement side, another deputy in there that could do some other things. And so we put this grant together and asked for what we're calling a deputy sheriff juvenile specialist position. And what this position is going to be able to do is to basically head up a multidisciplinary mobile response team. Pretty much what we're already doing through the coalition,
non-lethal cultivation activities and the release of hazardous chemicals into our environment. So we're really excited about this, as I said, it's a 3-year grant. We're hoping to do some really great things with it here in Trinity County. And so from that standpoint, we're excited. Just to add on to Ed Presley's report a little bit, and I don't want to take anything from Supervisor Finley because he's probably going to want to talk about it too, but Sunday we were able to go out and meet with Senator from the Fire down in Southern Trinity, take a tour of the burn area, and that was pretty exciting to get his viewpoint on things and to know that there is some help out there, to let everyone know that our deputies are out there. We had asked for some mutual aid briefly, but right now in California it's unprecedented the number of fires that we have going on. Mutual aid is just not available, so I want you to know that your Trinity County deputies are out there on extended shifts, on overtime. They're patrolling, helping the evacuation areas, making sure that people are advised that they do need to leave areas. Many are choosing not to. Right now, because the fire personnel are stretched so thin, our deputies are out there, the eyes and ears for the fire service right now. They're actually being able to tell them where the fire is at, since the smoke is so thick. Reconnaissance aircraft are not able to get out there, so we're performing pretty much double duty out there. So anyway, that's what I have for you. Do you have any questions?
Supervisor Finley, update. Thank you for your update and congratulations on your grant, and that's very exciting and kudos. Way to go. Thank you. So are there any other department heads or reports?
Madam Chair, I just have a brief update from County Counsel's office.
Thank you, Margaret. Welcome.
Thank you. So just briefly, I wanted to just give the board a quick update. The Trinity County is part of a statewide litigation regarding opiates that has been currently going on. There's been a lot of discussion of this matter in the news lately as some of the larger opiate manufacturers are looking to settle these lawsuits. I just wanted to give you an update that we are part of those discussions. At this point it's looking positive that there will be a resolution at some point. Right now the discussions are confidential with the subcommittee of the nationwide folks that are participating. But we will give you updates when we have them. There was recently a push by the California Attorney General's office to become the primary negotiator, and the counties, including this county, participated in efforts to overturn that with the legislation that would make them in charge of it. So it does have more local control with the local entities. And again, there's thousands of cities and counties throughout the United States that are involved in this. Trinity County being one of them. So it's looking promising that there will be a resolution at some point to this litigation, hopefully within a period of time. But I do want to give you information that we are involved in it, and that we are participating in that the efforts of the counties to keep the AG from being the primary if successful. So that's what I have.
Thank you. And I like the blue skies behind you.
Thank you.
Is there any questions for County Council?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you. There's no questions. Good job. Anybody else? No? Okay. Dr. Coons, we're looking forward to this because you gave us a tease a couple weeks ago that you were going to bring something back, so I'm looking forward to hearing this.
I'm going to give you a dumb look because I don't remember what I was bringing back.
Supervisor, well, it was actually at the budget committee. He was talking about the money for the planning and building that was set aside.
Oh, yeah, that'll be discussed. Actually, some of that will be discussed in closed session this afternoon. So, but yeah, we do have plans for that funding that has been set aside for the buildings, but we need to first discuss in closed session and get some direction, and then I'll be even more excited to bring that information back to you.
Okay.
So thank
Well,
you.
I'm sorry I jumped the gun. I thought at the discussion it was going to be in your report out today. I apologize.
No worries, thank you. And again, I want to congratulate the sheriff and his team for the Prop 64 grant. I think it's going to do some amazing things for us. I'm enthused about the satellite surveillance, some needed enforcement in areas that our deputies just can't get to. The only thing I really have to report is we chose to move the COVID report out to just one meeting a month unless things change significantly. But right now, it's kind of, as you've seen, the cases are still coming in, but they're coming in slowly, and the team's on them. And we notify the public through our public releases and our website. So we will just present to the board once a month unless something significantly happens.
I'm sure it'll help them with their time. So,
Thank you.
Supervisor Groves, did you have some questions?
I have a question and then kind of a statement for the CEO. So on the news this morning, I heard that Shasta County Supervisors are deciding how to spend their $22 million in CARES Act money today. And I'm curious where we are in receiving CARES Act money and what's going on there. So if you know today, you don't have to.
Yeah, we can do a report out on the next Liz is here, and much of that is coming through public health. So I don't know if you want to address that at this point, or we want to wait. She's shaking her head no. So we'll put that on the next schedule and report out the funding that's coming to Trinity County.
Okay. And did you want to follow up on the CARES Act?
Yeah, but go ahead, if you had something else.
I'll let you follow up on CARES and then, because mine's switching gears here.
Oh, okay. No, kind of similar, I asked during budget, there was some money where I think Health and Human Services was waiting to come in. I just didn't know if there were other departments that were eligible. Of course, the hospital got a truckload of money a couple months ago, and I just don't know where we're at in terms of covering our cost and be able to do some other proactive things around COVID.
So I can, if you'd like, I'll give a detailed outline at the next board meeting. We have received just another $212,000 received for the Resiliency Fund. I think we're around, I'm looking at, there's about 1.3 million in the CARES Act that have gone to our social service and public health program. So we have received, not at the same extent that some of the other counties, are much larger than us, but we have received funding that has covered our costs and allowed us to extend some of our services. But if it's board's wish, I'll go ahead and we can present that out on the next board meeting. Thank you.
I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, and my next, it's more of a comment, but the last planning commission meeting from a technological standpoint seemed to be a disaster. The Zoom meeting doesn't seem to be working for the planning commission. They didn't have an IT person there. They're having to supply their own computers because they're not issued county computers. We need to have a different alternative because the planning department issues become very technical and small details are very important, so we miss a lot of, when people report out to us, there's a lot of things that we miss that we just kind of move forward. So in my view, and I hope it's the view of the board, that we either upgrade the technology drastically or we just need to stop having planning commission meetings until we can meet them in person or come to some sort of way that we can have the technical expertise in the room.
I'll address that. Yes, did have significant issues and apologize to the public and those who participated. We did meet the following Friday or Monday. I think the next day, Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, and went through the system, and IT was there and found that the sound card couldn't handle the workload, so they upgraded that sound card, and we did a test run and had no problems with it. So that's one issue that's been resolved. The other issue is money. We looked into making the boardroom into a Zoom room, $60,000 to to make it into a Zoom room. So we're looking at other alternatives that are less expensive than $60,000 to turn our boardroom into a Zoom room. And Susie's working on that. We have some other alternatives to increase our technology, and then I've also talked with IT to see if they could have someone on staff during the planning commission meetings. But the issue of it timing out every 10 minutes and losing sound, that has been resolved. So we're working on that.
Well, I would think that we could maybe use the Performing Arts Center to bring back in-person meetings because we have the room to distance there. I'm not here to micromanage, even though it sounds like I am, but I would hope that all alternatives are used because this is important and it needs to be fixed immediately.
And there is no playbook right now during COVID. This is all brand new, so we're learning as we're going. But we are meeting. I'm meeting with the public health team Thursday and discussing occupancy because, as you know, we've opened the library back up and restaurants can have 25% capacity. So if those can have 25% capacity, we're going to consider, I'm going to propose to the health team, can we have 25% capacity? Looking across the room, this room is 120. That means we could have 30 people in this room under COVID. I don't think it'll handle that, but through social distancing and masking, we may be able to open up. That's one of the things I'm going to propose to the team, which I know they're not going to be excited about, but I'm going to propose that we start opening some of our public meetings back up to the capacity in which we can keep the public safe.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any additional questions, Dr. Jones? No. Okay, moving on to reports from the members of the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Brown?
Had a PATH meeting last week. One thing I heard that was interesting was that our participation in the WIC program has increased over the last 6 months. Also interesting was the unemployment rate of Trinity County. September of last year it was at 3.9%. January went up to 6.9. April was an all-time high of 12.7, and the last report was of July at 8.6, which is according to the EDD's stats. Trinity County's labor force is approximately 4,500 people, of which 380 are unemployed. Other than that, I have no out-of-county travel. Nothing else to report at this time.
Thank you. Supervisor Groves?
Nothing to report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Finley, it sounds like you had a busy week.
No, I have nothing to report out on. I have no out-of-county travel. Just a reminder to people that when the sheriff issues an evacuation order, that's an order to evacuate and leave the area. It's not an order to call the sheriff and ask when they should evacuate, which they've been doing. So that's it. No out-of-county travel.
Supervisor Morris?
Via Zoom, otherwise I would have out-of-county travel on some of these. Certainly our NACO Public Lands Committee, also tracking NACO federal legislation tracking, potential transportation bill. Of course, I mentioned last week there's talk of extending the census deadline, but don't bank on it. Also, there's talk at the federal level of moving cannabis off of the schedule. I think it's called the MORE Act or MOVE Act. I don't remember exactly, but also CSAC tracked state legislation waiting for the governor to sign some bills. A lot of bills that, of course, relate to county government. CSAC will track. NCRP Executive Committee, Force Task Force. And just a reminder, there is no collaborative, local collaborative meeting this Friday due to the fires.
Okay, well, last night, the beginning of the month was a holiday, so the September 7th All Chiefs meeting was bumped to September 14th, but due to the fires, there was no meeting. And then on September 9th, the Dos Rios COC executive, and it's moving forward at a really good pace. Unfortunately, I kept being dropped from the call, so we are learning not just that Trinity County has these IT challenges, but a lot of the committees that we serve on, whether it's Zoom or Teams or there's, I think, 4 different platforms that I personally am using for these committee meetings. So it's not just the IT. Our IT works diligently, and I appreciate that. But the challenges are always increasing, and the volume of participants, when they increase, it deletes us. On the 10th, the NorCal EMS meeting, I attended it in person in Shasta County, and there are some significant changes that may come before this board, but it might end up going after in January with the new board. And that concludes my report out. And so moving on to county matters, I just want to check in with the board if you're ready to proceed. It's 10:22 by the clock in the room. Why don't we break until 10:30 and come back and go into county matters. For those on Zoom, we will resume at 10:30. Thank you. Okay, so welcome back to the September 15th Board of Supervisors, and we are moving into county matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request that an item be heard out of order. And I am going to move item 4.8 to the front of the line. Is there anybody else that needs to move anything? Anybody? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, so bringing it back to the board, I am going to bring item 4.8, planning and zoning. Uphold, modify, or overturn the Planning Commission's decision to deny an appeal of the Planning Director's approval of commercial cannabis cultivations license number 671.
Oh, there she is.
671 on oppressor's parcel number 014/360/13/00 in the Hayfork area, parentheses, planning file P 20-26, unknown fiscal impact. And at this time, I am going to turn over my chair to Vice Chair as a personal insult has come towards me, and on behalf of the county, I will recuse myself.
All right, item 4.8, appeal of Planning Commissioner decision, Carl Fisher, ETAL. Requested action, uphold, modify, or overturn the Planning Commission's decision to deny an appeal of the Planning Director's approval of commercial cannabis cultivation license number 671 on assessor's parcel number 014360013-00 in the Hayfork planning area. Fiscal impact unknown. Director Hunter?
Yes, good morning. Kim Hunter, Building and Planning Director, here to present this item today. However, I am concerned that the appellant is not present for this item, and I would ask if County Council on the line would ask County Council's opinion or advice on how to proceed in this matter.
County
I am
Council.
on the line if you'd like me to address it.
Please.
So typically when an appellant files an appeal, they are required to appeal at the hearing in order to have the case move forward. The county has in the past not proceeded with a full appeal if there's nobody present. So my recommendation is allow Ms. Hunter to do her staff staff report, and then again, if they're not, at that point, if they're not anyone there who's going to represent the appellant, then the matter would be removed from the calendar.
Be pulled from today's calendar and pushed back to a date where the appellant can be present, or what?
No, it would just be, there would be no action necessary since there's no one there to make a request of the board, so it would just die.
And so where would that put the appeal in itself?
Well, again, and again, I would ask the center to confirm that notice was given. If notice was properly given and they've chosen not to pursue it further, then that is their choice. If in later time there is a justifiable reason for their inability to attend, we can examine that for rehearing it. Otherwise, they would be required to reappeal if they're within their time period. If they're not, which I do not believe they would be, then the matter again is closed.
Supervisors, do you have any other questions for county council?
I do, but I need to formulate it in my mind, so.
Supervisor Morris?
Nope.
Is the appellant on the line?
Is Mr. Fisher online or on Zoom or on the phone? Or anybody representing?
I do believe he has counsel, so counsel would be appropriate as well. Please, Mr.
Is there any legal counsel on the line for Mr. Fisher? Hearing none. Supervisor Groves, you have a question? Ready?
Margaret, would you explain a little more what happened previously? So when you say it drops, just go ahead and explain what was happened to this point and what this would mean.
Absolutely. When an individual appeals an order, what that does is it gives them an opportunity to present their position to the board. That matter is then set for the calendar, which is what we're here today for. They then have an opportunity to present anything they believe was incorrect and ask the board to make a decision that would overturn the planning commission or the director's decision at the lower level. If they fail to appear at this hearing, there's nothing to present. So there is nothing to appeal at this point because they are not here to provide the information to the board to justify their belief that things should have been done differently. As a result, again, the board has no action to take because there's nothing before them to decide. So at that point, the matter would just be considered to be, again, removed from the calendar for lack of appearance, and the appeal would be considered moot.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vice Chair, just out of fairness to the applicant, or the appellate, excuse me, since this was moved forward in the agenda, it is possible that they were planning on coming at a later time. I would request that we go through the rest of the agenda up to this time period and then drop it at that point if they have not shown.
Are there any other comments from supervisors? Would you like to discuss Keith's concern?
Sure, I do.
What Keith is requesting is more than fair. So I would prefer to just, since the chair decided to move it up and refuse, I would prefer to move forward with this now. But what Keith is requesting is absolutely fair.
And council, how does this pan out as far as pushing an item back to the end of the agenda after it's already been moved?
That's at the chair's pleasure. If you would like to continue it or push it to the end of the agenda, that can be done. If the board would like, I can give the attorney a call and see if they're planning on attending. We can do all of that. But again, that would be above and beyond what we're legally required to do.
I'm not interested in us, I mean, it's their responsibility to be here. I just worry that when somebody sees something on the agenda, I understand they're supposed to be here, they may be just thinking it's going to be later in the day. If Margaret's all right, we could hear from Kim and then continue it, and if nobody shows up, it just gets dropped.
I don't agree with that. If I have to sit through all of this, they can sit through all of this, and everybody's been here ready to do this, so either just push it to the end.
Okay, but
you know, we're really getting, Margaret's given us some legal direction, and let's let the chair, vice chair, pick it up and make a decision for us, and then take the responsibility.
Okay, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you.
In my opinion, all parties have had ample time to be prepared for this meeting. The other parties involved in this appeal were here early, prompt in the beginning of the meeting, regardless of the timing. So I would move that the appellant has not showed up and therefore the item is dropped.
Council did recommend that we hear from Kim on this also.
Okay.
I would like to briefly make sure that Ms. Hunter provides information that we can put on the record that the notice was proper. That's my main concern in her presentation. This is not required to be noticed for public hearing, but it is, we want to make sure that it was properly agendized, that it was done 72 hours in advance. And if she's had any additional communication with them to let them know of this hearing date, that would be important to at least put on the record.
Can I have the clerk go ahead and discuss the publication of the agenda and when it was noticed?
I can speak to the agenda side of it. As far as personally notifying the appellant, that is handled through the planning department, so I would defer to Kim. But the agenda was published on Friday afternoon around 5:30, which meets our 72-hour deadline. This item is on the County Matters section of the agenda. It was not noticed late, it wasn't added after the fact, so I think we met our Brown Act noticing requirements there. And it was sent out to anybody who has requested to receive notification of publishing of our agendas.
As far as the planning department goes, there was no further correspondence with the appellant. We did not notify them of this item being on the agenda.
Council, should Director Hunter continue with any report on the item, or no?
Just to confirm, how was appellant made aware that this hearing was going forward? Just through the publication of the agenda?
Correct.
I do have a bit of concern that potentially they weren't aware that this was occurring. It is their responsibility to check the agenda. If we could confirm whether Mr. Underwood received a copy of the agenda on that list, that would be something I would like to make sure of before we go forward.
Vice Chair, I don't think Margaret knows, the other side of the party is here, I believe. The consultant and the license holder, so I'm assuming they saw it on the agenda. Without any special letter or anything, just the agenda.
We confirmed, did you reach out to the other side at all, or they received the same notice that both sides received?
Neither side received a notice.
Okay, thank you.
Well, just to be clear, they did receive notice through the publication of the formal agenda. None of them received additional contact.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I'm comfortable.
Supervisors, any further comment?
I believe Susie's looking to see if
It does not appear that Mr. Underwood is on our distribution list, so he would not have been made aware the agenda was published to go and look to check to see if this item was on there. However, we did publish in our normal fashion, which has been the same as every meeting. I'm not sure what that, how that weighs in.
Is Fisher on the list? Sorry.
No, Mr. Fisher is not on the list either.
Okay, Margaret, you had concerns that they weren't notified, so are you satisfied?
Notice is always a concern. It's, again, my understanding that it was published appropriately, it was published pursuant to code, and that the appellant, the respondent had an opportunity, the same notification, and is present today. Again, I recommend, there's no way to move forward without them being involved. What I recommend, again, is for this matter to be dropped. If the appellant has a justifiable reason why they could not attend, they can always petition the board to put it back on calendar, and we can discuss it at that point. But there's nothing that the board can do without having the appellant present, because there's no argument to support any modification, and they have the burden to make an argument to support any modification to the prior decisions.
Will the appellant have a chance to re-appeal and attempt this process again?
No, I believe the time of appeal has passed. I'll confirm with Ms. Hunter, but I believe it has passed. So again, they would have to petition the board to put back on calendar with a justifiable reason why they weren't present at the properly noticed at time for their hearing.
Okay, thank you. Supervisors, any further discussion? And County Council, do we need to take comment from the public also on this item?
If you're going to take action on it, you'd be required to take comment from the public. If not, if you're going to just remove it from the calendar based on appellant's lack of presence, you do not.
Okay, well, unless there's any opposition, I move to have this item removed from the agenda due to the lack of the showing of the appellant. Does that need to be motioned on, or no?
Thank you, Chair.
All right, so with that, we will go on.
Chairman?
Do what we do best, which is nothing.
W's a W.
Okay, so we'll go back to Auditor and Controller 4.1, approved budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for contributions to other funds, Department 1990, increasing contributions by $17,133. And approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for contingency, Department 9901, decreasing appropriations by $17,133. Increase in general fund appropriations in the amount of $17,133. Current contingency balance is $28,837. And is there anyone from the auditors?
Yes, Christine Gaffney here.
Hi, Christine.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Christine Gaffney, Assistant Auditor Controller. The budget adjustment presented before you are the results of the county's requirement to pay the state our annual maintenance of effort. As in the past few years, the collections of the court fines of fees have dropped and has resulted in MOE payment exceeding collections by $17,133. So these budget adjustments will bring the deficit cash balance to zero.
Okay, are there any questions from the board? Opening it to the public. Is Is there anyone on Zoom or in the public here that would like to say anything? Bringing it back to the board.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Friendly, seconded by Supervisor Brown. Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Friendly?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaffney. Clerk of the Board.
Thank you.
Item 4.2, pursuant to Trinity County Code, Section 8.90.170, consider Alec Hurst's request for exemption from the code enforcement appeal fee of $1,050 for notice of violation number 0836, potential loss of revenue to the general funds in the amount of $1,050. And does the board have any questions, or can I open it up to, I'm assuming that you're here on behalf of Alec Hurst?
Yeah, I am Alec
I
Hurst.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any Supervisor
wait.
Morris?
I'll wait till he's done.
So the board has no comments among themselves, so we're going to open it to public comment.
Okay. I'm Alec Hurst, and I was cited earlier this year on the 20th for cultivation of marijuana, excessive cultivation of marijuana. I received 2 fines running side by side. They were for $100 a day for every day that I had my garden up to light at bay. But I had been basically a part of the program since 2016 when there was an urgency ordinance that was being developed. And I had some issues this year with consulting in my company and confusion in the permitting process with the Bureau of Cannabis Control, CDFA, and the Building and Planning Department. And basically, my cultivation permit was denied. I had consultants that have correspondence submitting my permit along with my micro business permit that I wanted to switch to my annual CCL. And somehow there was a huge confusion between the jurisdictions that oversee them. And I wanted to see about basically straightening it out. But right now, this is just my first basically go around at it. This is just to ask you guys for a fee waiver. After this, I have to present my case to the planning commission, and then it'll go in front of you guys. And then, if need be, after that, litigation, which is hopefully something I can dodge. I don't want to do that at all. But basically, right now, I just have a fee from county council. I have fines that run for $100 a day, and I have 2 of them. And I just need to show that it will cause financial hardship, basically, within my company. So my company is actually shut down and deemed non-operational right now. The farm is still there and growing. I'm just basically going through the process to get all this figured out. So this is kind of where I'm starting at.
Is there anyone else here from the public that wishes to speak on this item? Are you concluded, Mr. Hurst? I don't want to cut you off. It looked like you were done.
Oh, yeah, no, should I present any evidence that I have to you guys as far as?
Did you bring enough copies to
Yeah.
present? Okay, so I'll have Susie, if you don't mind, going with those.
Okay. How many do you guys need?
7?
7, okay.
And Sheriff, if he's going to provide testimony, he will need to be sworn in.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to do that. I was just, it looked like there's people here in the public that wanted to speak, and then I will let you guide me how you want to proceed with that, because I believe there's people here to speak. Do you want to have the public comment concluded before we do any of the swearing in?
My recommendation would be to swear him in, have him present any testimony he wants the board to consider in this, and then afterwards, once his testimony is complete, public comment can happen.
Okay. Susie?
Mr. Hurst, if you please Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this presentation is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
So we're going to take a few minutes and look at the document that has been just presented to us. Those will remain confidential, so you know that they won't be shared. Susie Hawkins, our deputy clerk, will send a copy to our county council.
Okay.
That they will remain confidential from the board supervisors.
Okay.
I'll return 6.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Margaret, county council, we're going to have, Susie will send you a copy of what we received, but we gave the gentleman back his documents because they're confidential. So I see that Supervisor Brown has a question moving forward.
You currently hold a valid Trinity County license?
No, it got denied in the process. I submitted it June 12th of 2020 along with a micro business permit. When I first started this in 2016, I did my own consulting and everything. So over the past, I'd say year and a half, I've been through 5 consultants, including 5 consultants besides myself. So I had family members helping me, and then they couldn't do it no longer anymore. So I've kind of just gone down the line. I was in a motorcycle accident in June that really, I was pretty banged up on it, really bad. So I reached out to professional consulting agencies such as Ag Dynamics and MyView. She's now over in Reading. And I talked to Ford, but due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, they weren't, and just basically workload, they weren't taking anybody on at the time. So I had this huge mess up in my company with consulting, with consultants in my company consulting, and the Bureau of Cannabis Control, CDFA, and the Building and Planning Department. So and then cross-ups and permits like valid state licenses and things like that. So I have valid state licenses, but the wrong licenses were issued. So I got a chance after I found out from Kim on the 24th, that she's going to be denying my CCL. So I went down to Fort Bragg, my hometown, and I just basically performed a company audit and put it in. I put it in this book right here, just to kind of see what was going on in my company. So right now, all I'm basically doing is building evidence to present to the planning department to support my appeal, and if needed, to present to you guys. So that's kind of where I'm at, and right now I'm just the first step with the fee waiver on the appeal. So I had all these fines that I've been to this back in 2016, I went to the same thing. So before there was an ordinance, when Joe Moore and Margaret Long was overseeing everything, we figured out an emergency ordinance and an ordinance for the county, and then we went in and settled it with county council, paid our fines, and we were allowed to get in the permitting process. So basically, just where I'm at is I just have a huge error in consulting and communication in my company that I didn't have my eyes on, and also basically in my company that I didn't have my eyes on, and a lot of stuff got past the Bureau of Cannabis Control, the planning department, as well as me. So it's just something that I have to gather evidence on and be able to present to you guys eventually if planning doesn't overturn this.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Do you have any other questions? No, this gentleman, and then we're going to open it to public comment and we'll bring it back to the board. Okay. Margaret, we're going to proceed with public comment now. There's no further questions from the board.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Supervisors, John Broward from Johnson City. The program did get off to a very rocky start. And, I've seen Alec here at these meetings for years now. I would say that if he has been operating in a compliant way, he has been trying to follow the rules, it seems, and if he has been operating violation-free, then this does seem like a reasonable request. Perhaps you could ask him if he does have any county violations or not. I think that would affect your judgment on this matter. But if he's been playing by the rules, it seems reasonable to give him a fighting chance to stay compliant, both state and county. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors, Justin Hawkins here. I wanted to urge you to go ahead and grant the waiver today. The labyrinth that it takes to get through the licensing process at the state and the county level is pretty hard. And with COVID affecting, I think, all the agencies, including our own planning department pretty heavily, this would, open up the opportunity that maybe he has a case that is supported by, granting the waiver. So I'd urge you to grant the waiver, let this proceed forward, and we'll find out more as the case proceeds. But at this point, I think it's reasonable. Thank you.
Are there any public comment on Zoom or the telephone? Okay, so I'll bring it back to the board.
For discussion or for vote?
I would entertain a motion if someone was inclined, but we're always open to the discussion prior.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
I just want us to be focused on what our decision-making process is today, and that's just that considering granting a waiver or exemption under undue financial hardship, what other issues have happened really don't pertain to any today. So if he's made a case that it's undue financial, quote-unquote, undue financial hardship, that's all we are deciding today.
And I appreciate you clarifying that that's the only role we have today. I appreciate that. Thank you. County Council, would you like to add anything to that?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So I will make a motion that we accept the applicant's fee waiver and the potential loss of the revenue of general fund in the amount of $1,050.
Second, for discussion.
Discussion?
That's what she said, seconded for discussion.
Oh, okay. I think it'd be great possibly if there were any organizations in the county that worked with cannabis growers to look at this situation, step up and help out this fellow farmer with this fee and help him through this process. I know there's some out around Hayfork that might be looking at this, and I think this is an absolute incredible opportunity for those organizations to step up.
Any other discussion?
I believe that the permit, the county permit, had an expiration date of last December at some point. Cannabis has been deemed an essential business throughout the COVID impact, although there have been challenges and bottlenecking. It hasn't been at a standstill by any means. That's all I have to comment.
Any other further discussion?
Okay. Motion moved by Supervisor Chadwick, seconded by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris?
Yeah.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
No.
Supervisor Fenley?
No.
Supervisor Brown?
No.
Thank you.
County matters, County Administrative Office, approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for new jail capital project, Department 1812, increasing transfers in by $11,704. Approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for contributions to other funds, Department 1990, increasing transfers out by $11,704. And approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for contingency, Department 9901, decreasing appropriations by $11,704. Increasing in general fund appropriations in an amount of $11,704. Current cash balance in the new jail capital project fund 143 is negative $2,229,411, and current contingency balance is $11,704 after prior adjustment. Dr. Kins?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Essentially what we're asking the board to approve here is the remainder of our contingency, which is $11,704, to transfer that to the capital improvement, the jail capital project. Traditionally, in the past, we allocate these funds to those accounts with a negative balance, but we're asking that this year the immediate need is for the jail construction. Those accounts have been around for a while and remain for a while, and we're dealing with them on a year-to-year basis. But because we're asking Director Tippett to save us $300,000, we're trying to work with him and allocate the remainder of our contingency.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Moving it to the public, is there anyone in the audience or out in the lobby that would like to make a comment? Okay, so I'll bring it back to the board. I move to approve.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none from the board.
Motion by Supervisor Morris, seconded by Supervisor Brown. Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Fenley?
Yes.
Supervisor Chadwick? Thank you.
Item 4.4, adopt a resolution which adopts the final budget for fiscal year 2021 at $134,738,679. Any questions or discussion? Moving into public comment. Not seeing any. Nobody in the lobby, nobody on Zoom, nobody. Moving it back to the board.
Do we really need this?
Yes. Adopt a resolution.
Yes, we do. Absolutely, 100%.
I expected a pencil to fly across the room from Richard.
I'll move to.
Right?
I'll move to adopt the resolution to adopt the final budget for fiscal 2021.
Boy, I did seconds. Oh. No, that's our count.
I heard Supervisor Morris first.
Of course.
What are you trying to say, John?
Motion by Supervisor Groves, seconded by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Finley?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, that was
Human Resources, item 4.5, approve a revised job description for compliance officer, parentheses, behavioral health services, effective September 15, 2020, no fiscal impact. And Shelley, Ms. Nelson, are you on this one?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
So reviewing the Code of Federal Regulations, the compliance officer should report directly to the mental health program director. Trinity County's compliance officer job description currently directs that individual to report to the Deputy Director of Quality Assurance. Some minor modifications are also asked to be made to the current job description to comply with the federal regulations and reflect accurately the characteristics and descriptions of duties for this classification. I had attached a red line version, defining those minor modifications, which would also allow us to meet compliance requirements. We've reviewed this with the union. They're in support of this item.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Supervisor.
This is an extremely important position for behavioral health. We need to be in compliance or it can cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I fully support this request.
Thank you. Is there any other opening it for the public? I don't see any movement in the lobby. Is there anyone on Zoom? Nope. So bringing it back to the board.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second. I heard Supervisor Morris. Beat you just slightly.
She's that much closer.
It might be.
Move, Susie. Let's get her over there.
Motion by Supervisor Finley, seconded by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Finley?
Yes.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 4.6, pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 2.60.410, parentheses A, authorize hiring candidate number 00417 as an equipment operator driver to at range G175 Step C in the Department of Solid Waste effective September 1st, 2020. Approximate cost and salary and benefits per month for an equipment operator driver 2 at A step is $5,278 and at C step is $5,724. Ms. Shelley?
So Trinity County Department of Solid Waste, we ran a recruitment for the position of Equipment Operator Driver 2. This position is one of 3 vacancies that the department has in operations, 2 of which have been lengthy researches for qualified drivers. The applicant who scored the highest has over 20 years experience operating, maintaining heavy equipment, as well as commercial routes driving, miscellaneous waste and hazardous materials management tasks that are inherent to the construction projects, and has experience with project estimating and management. As part of the commercial routes driving, this applicant has 25 years of roll-off operating experience, which is highly valued and rare in our current state of operations, and transfer truck driving experience. This applicant is also familiar with building codes, regulations, which can translate to understanding the regulations dictating the solid waste operations. This experience level would enable fine-tuning to their specific operations without having to start at the entry level with training, and would relieve some of the overload on the current solid waste technicians who are filling gaps in the system in addition to their regular duties. The experience would prove to be a huge asset to both this department and to serving our public.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Are there any questions? Open it up to the public. No public, so bringing it back to the board.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Brown, seconded by Supervisor Finley. Supervisor Finley?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4.7, take the following actions in the probation department effective September 15, 2021. Approve the job description, salary range, and add to the alphabetic listing of the classifications of probation corrections counselor, parentheses, PCC, 1 at range 0157, a PCC 2 at range 0167, and a PCC senior at range 0177. 2, add 4 probation corrections counselors 1/2 and 1 probation corrections counselor senior to the departmental allocation listing. 3, pursuant to Trinity Code Section 2.60.360, reclassify employee ID number 02362 from juvenile counselor / correctional officer 2 at range 0167, step B, to probation corrections counselor 2 at range 0167, step B, and 4, delete 4 juvenile counselor / correctional officers 1 and 2, and 1 juvenile counselor senior from the departmental allocation listing and alphabetical listing of classifications. No fiscal impact. Ms. Nelson?
Well, the probation department had requested modifying the current juvenile counselor job description series and title. And this classification change is crucial to the department's ability to adapt to statewide changes that have occurred both in the juvenile field as well as within the community corrections field in general. Essentially allows them to more effectively utilize their staffing resources across various divisions and functions within the department by broadening the essential functions of the juvenile correctional officer classification. And by doing this would include non-custody services to their adult population and the day reporting center. This reclassification follows a number of other counties that have also made similar reclassifications and has proven to be a cost-efficient and effective way to keep up with emerging best practice standards while also enhancing services to this population. This would not be adding any allocations. There is no fiscal impact in making these changes as the salary range would remain the same. There is currently only 1 employee who would be impacted by this change, and the need to reclassify them is included within the request. And I have reviewed this with the union, and they are in support of the item.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Ms. Nelson? No? Opening it up to the public. No public on the line, so bringing it back to the board. Second.
God, it's about
Motion by Supervisor Brown, seconded by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Brown? Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Finley? Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
Thank you.
Closed session, item 5. Oh, the addendum. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Moving forward. Addendum item A, Health and Human Services, ratify the county health officer's declaration and confirm the existence of local health emergency in Trinity County due to unhealthy air quality caused by the wildfires. No fiscal impact. Discussion?
Have we already done a,
The local emergency?
the local emergency for the wildfires?
Yes, we did it at budget hearings. The subsequent item was to confirm that. And so the resolution to confirm the continuance will come back next month.
All right, that's my question.
So I'm just going to open it up to the public. We don't have any here, so any online? Nope, so bringing it back to the board.
I'll move to accept the item A as submitted.
I'll second.
Cheapest last of the day. We're easily.
Supervisor Groves, seconded by Supervisor Brown. Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Finley?
Aye.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now, we'll move into closed section. Closed session, item 5.1, Government Code Section 54954.5, parentheses B, conference with real property negotiators, APN 001/120/2800, agency negotiator Richard Coons, negotiating party Big Valley Properties, under negotiation price and terms of payments. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make a comment or statement?
I think Brower Skier's got to get called out here.
Pardon?
No, Brower stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read item 5.2, closed session, Government Code Section 54954.5, parentheses C, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, number of cases 1, Wool Mountain Consulting Inc. and Trinity Meadow Farms LLC versus Trinity County Superior Court case number 20CB103. Opening it up to public comment. Seeing none, bringing it back to the board, and we thank you, and the open session is adjourned.